Hello, friends, and welcome to Democracy-ish. Wajahat is currently wrapping up on Piers Morgan's show. Lord only knows why he does that man's show, but he does it, and it's an international audience, but I don't have the ability to tolerate that level of fuckery. So Waj will jump in and join us when he wraps. And so I appreciate you all being super patient on this good Monday, the last day of June. So as it turns out, we already know what the deal is, which is that this big, ugly, disgusting bill that Republicans in the Senate are shoving through and shoving down the throats of American citizens is probably one of the most unpopular bills ever. And, Donald Trump and Republicans said that they had a mandate, right? That this election, which they won, and I use that in quotations, by the skin of their teeth, that somehow gave them total, total authority to undo our social safety nets, to ensure that the most vulnerable among us can barely afford their lives or health care. Look at this number. Like, you can't deny this when Fox is posting it. Fox, which we know is state TV for the Republican Party. Gavin Newsom, nothing like working on behalf of the American people. 59% of those polled oppose this bill. 38% are in favor. But is that going to stop Republicans from doing their absolute worst? That is going to add trillions of debt to our already inflated debt that Donald Trump did the first time around when he had a hit job on our livelihood. How much did he add, folks, in his first term? I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $7 trillion with that tax break to the ultra wealthy. So here it is. Like we say, you know that we're in hell when every once in a while you're agreeing with some of the most vile people in the country. And here is Elon Musk. The latest Senate draft bill will destroy millions of jobs in America and cause immense strategic harm to our country. Utterly insane and destructive. It gives handouts to industries of of the past while severely damaging industries of the future. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just had to debate three genocidal pro-Israel war hawks, and it was the easiest debate ever because I just kept quiet and let them speak.
Oh, well,
Sorry
then
that I
there's
was
that.
late. I told the Piers Morgan people that to get me out by 12, but forgive me. But I knew Danielle would hold fort, and here we are. We're coming from one chaos to another. Are you talking about the big beautiful
The
bill
big,
from hell?
beautiful bill. So I just showed them this wonderful poll. I don't know the last time that 59% of Americans opposed something was. 59% of Americans got on board. But this is where we are. And then I went into the fact that Elon, like, that we're in hell when we're agreeing with Elon Musk and Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I just, I guess here's my thing. The fact that Republicans know how unpopular this is, the fact that it is literally going to destroy lives, and we're going to go through all of those points. I'm guessing, and I need to know what you think. I believe that they know we're not going to have midterm elections, so they don't actually give a shit. That they're not concerned with the fact that a majority of Americans are against this in their bill because they're not going to be voted out. What are your thoughts?
I think they're beholden to an authoritarian leader who doesn't give an F about anything except himself, his power, his real estate holdings, and his money. And I think they realize whatever the king says goes, which is why Senator Tillis, we're going to talk about that, I'm sure, once he went against this, because even he realizes, oh my God, the cuts to Medicaid are going to kill my peoples, right? What happened? Donald Trump said, I'm going to get rid of you. I'm going to primary you. And so Tillis and others have bent the knee and have gone out. That's what happened to Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney used to be the number three leading Republican, Danielle. Where is she? Gone. Kinzinger, gone, right? So they realize this is the monster that we've created, and whatever the monster says goes. And I agree with you. Well, like what you and I have been saying is that this is not a party that is beholden to the rule of law. If you think we're being crazy, folks, I give you January 6th, the violent insurrection, right, by Donald Trump. I give you now that 80% of Republican voters believe the big lie that Trump won the election that he lost. I give you the fact that he pardoned the violent insurrectionists, all 1,600 of them. I gave you the fact that he's been flirting with running again, and now that there's merchandise. I gave you the fact that he actually quoted Hitler and said, I'm going to unleash the National Guard and the military against the, quote, enemy from within. And what is he doing right now, Danielle, in LA, right? So what I've said, and I hope I'm wrong, Danielle, is that push comes to shove and they're screwed. What he's going to say is, you know what? I got to save America from the Antifa and the Venezuelans and the Mexicans and the Muslims. I'm going to declare martial law. And before I declare martial law, I'm going to get mine. And all these Republicans, the reason why they're going to go for the big, beautiful bill from hell is Lindsey Graham said something in the first administration. We try to bring receipts here.
Waj, your volume on your microphone needs to go. No. It needs to come up. It's low.
Can you all hear me now?
Everyone is saying they can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Something's funky with my my microphone. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Bueller. All right. Lindsey Graham in the first administration, if you recall, when they were passing the first completely unpopular tax cut that added what, $3 trillion to the debt. Remember what he said? Our donors have said, you better pass this or else you don't have to come back to us, which means the billionaires have told Republicans, if you want money, you better come to us and pass this. They're gonna get this done, Danielle, no matter what, because they're beholden to the oligarchy and they don't care. And Danielle, the fact that it's 60% now and the fact that Americans don't even talk about it, imagine once they start feeling the cuts.
Which I think it's going to be, I think that they're going to feel the cuts instantly. So like you said, Rand Paul, Tom Tillis vote no. And Tom Tillis, right? I'm going to play the video, has announced, guess what? He is not going to seek re-election, because anybody that starts to have a crisis of consciousness and realize that they are now in bed with the most cruel, the most like just disgusting and depraved party, and how much it's going to hurt their own people, when they realize that and speak out, then guess what? They know that they are out of the party. So Tom Tillis took himself out of the game.
Between the state-directed payments and the cuts scheduled in this bill, there's a reduction of state-directed payments. And then there's the reduction of the provider tax. They can't find a hole in my estimate. So what they told me is that, yeah, it's rough, but North Carolina's used the system. They're going to have to make it work. All right. So what do I tell 663,000 people in 2 years or 3 years when President Trump breaks his promise by pushing them off of Medicaid because the funding's not there anymore, guys? When the White House managers advising the president are not telling him that the effect of this bill is to break a promise. And you know, the last time I saw a promise broken around health care, with respect to my friends on the other side of the aisle, it's when somebody said, if you like your health care, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. We found out that wasn't true. That made me the second Republican Speaker of the House since the Civil War, ladies and gentlemen, because we betrayed the promise to the American people. 2 years later, 3 years later, it actually made me a U.S. Senator, because in 2010, it had just been proposed. And just anticipation of what was going to happen was enough to have a sea change election that swept Republicans into the majority for the second time in 100 years. Now, Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs. Now,
so it turns out that the waste, fraud, and abuse is actually the mantra of the Republican Party, and that every single thing that they are doing, from slashing Medicaid, which is going to kick 12 million people or more off of their health insurance, slashing food for low-income children, also that they can provide the biggest theft of wealth from the poor and middle class in order to give to the greedy 1%.
Biggest wealth transfer in U.S. history, Danielle.
And why? And I don't call it a wealth transfer. It is theft. It is theft, right? It is theft. So when you look at this, right? Look at Lisa Murkowski. And for those fucking people that still thought that this sorry sack of shit, which is what she is, would ever do anything other than clutch her goddamn pearls when it comes to passing legislation that she knows is going to cause harm. Look at what Lisa Murkowski did from Alaska. Didn't like the new cuts to federal programs. So Republicans just said, okay, we'll exempt Alaska from the cuts. And so she voted for cuts for everyone else. It is, I mean, I cannot get over. And this is why I say, Waj, you know what? The other day you said that you had come to the place where I have long since been, where I say, you know what? Burn this shit down. Because at the end of the day, these senators do not represent the United States of America. They represent their own fiefdoms.
That's right.
Because for Lisa Murkowski to now have a provision that is individuals in non-contiguous state to be exempt from enforcing new work requirements imposed on SNAP, because she lives in a state with 5 people, but everybody else,
9 people. With the seals, 12.
Everyone else, she voted to ensure that there would be suffering for. So I say, you know what? Since we don't operate like the United States of America, let the blue states back the fuck out of the federal government. Let them start to now ensure and encapsulate their own resources, protect their own constituents, and stop paying federal taxes. Like, this is what this is going to come to. And I don't think that people really understand it.
And also, you know what? Facts matter. Guess who gives more money to the federal government that then is doled out to the red states? My home state of California, the 4th or 5th largest economy in the world, the most populous state in the nation, gives more to the federal government. There's a surplus of $80 billion at least, Danielle. And that $80 billion then goes to the government to then what? Dole out, I'm using the language of Republicans, to give welfare to the red states. Oh, you know, to help FEMA when there's going to be hurricanes. Oh, you know, to help them with healthcare, with infrastructure. Because these dumbass Republican leaders have ensured that their red states have some of the lowest standards in education, some of the lowest quality of healthcare, some of the lowest quality of infrastructure, that have some of the nation's highest murder rates, Danielle, right?
Yep.
So that's why they depend on these godless, liberal, heathen, queer states of socialism, communism, jihad, Sharia, New York and California, right? Which literally help give, they're the economic engine of this country that helps give back to the federal government to give to the United States of America. Because you and me, Danielle, we're not genocidal sociopaths. We want to help all Americans. But these people like Lisa Murkowski, who is the alleged moderate, literally, Danielle said, all right, I'm good. Alaska's good. Peace out, everyone else. And then she flipped, right? Who else flipped? Ron Johnson flipped, right? So these people made side deals, right? They played the hustle game. All right, what you going to give me? What you going to give me? That's what you're going to give me? Good. This will help my personal reelection. And again, I want to go back. They're all paid by the billionaires, folks.
Yep.
At the end of the day, both sides of the aisle, even though both sides aren't the same, are paid by big money. Citizens United unleashed dark money and corporate money. Democrats themselves had said, if you really want to change democracy in this country, you have to get rid of what? big money and corporate money from politics, right? And then at the end of the day, if you get out this money, if you get rid of the billionaires, maybe the people have a chance, right? So as this is happening right now, we're going to talk about it, Danielle. No one's talking about the billionaires. No one's talking about the big donors, right? Instead, we're talking about Zoran Mamdani and this other shit, and talking about reaching out to the moderates like Lisa Murkowski. And this is what a moderate Republican gives you. A moderate Republican right now is the same as an extremist Republican when it comes to supporting the oligarchy and screwing the rest of us. You'll have thoughts and concerns about Susan Collins, but then she'll come. What does she do? I'm concerned. Let me vote with MAGA. Lisa Murkowski, I'm concerned. Oh, hey, Republicans, do you have enough votes? Okay, I'll abstain. Oh, Republicans, you need my vote? What you gonna give me and Alaska? Yep. Oh, this? All right, peace out. This is another stat. We talked about the $900 billion cuts to Medicaid. Have we also talked about this big, beautiful bill from hell, the billionaire bill, is gonna shut down, Danielle?
Oh, no, we haven't gotten there yet.
Oh,
we're getting there. Yeah, we're getting there. Which is because I want to run through some of the things that is, and then we'll get to what is the most egregious to me. So this bill rips food assistance away from poor kids in the most cowardly way possible. Previous efforts to reduce that burden by linking eligibility in one program to others would dissolve under the Republican bill. For instance, children and families on SNAP are automatically enrolled in free and reduced price lunches at school. But families who lose food assistance under the Republican bill may also automatically lose school meals for their children unless they fill out new forms to sign up. The budget office estimated that child nutrition subsidies would fall for about 420,000 children. This is the party that cares about kids, and you're going to ensure that nearly 500,000 children go hungry at school. Okay? So then that's one thing. Look at the energy. Senate bill would increase electricity prices in every state. Wyoming, 29%. Illinois, 25%. New Mexico, 24%. And it goes on. So, and this is what Waj is saying. Look at these numbers. The largest, and it's not a redistribution because language married, it is the largest theft from the poor to the richest in America. Look at how much harm is going to come to the poorest 10% versus the richest 10%. And you tell me that this is not a recipe for a rise up, for a revolution? They threw tea into the harbor for fucking less.
You listen, Danielle.
Here is what you were going to state. So
25% of nursing homes will be forced to close if Republicans pass Trump's big, beautiful bill from hell. And Elizabeth Warren said no grandma should be kicked out of their nursing home so that Mark Zuckerberg can buy another Hawaiian island, or that Jeff Bezos can spend $50 million on the world's most gaudy wedding in Venice, surrounded by billionaires and Hollywood elites. Folks, I agree with Danielle. These people aren't students of history. Arrogant people get lazy and they get smug. And they think, you know what? We got it good. The system will hold. The peasants will keep fighting amongst themselves. There will be cultural divisions. Guess what? They're just going to kill themselves over bread and fish, and we're going to eat well like hogs. And then there's a Luigi Mangione, Danielle. And then they're like, what? How did this happen? Wait, why do a majority of Americans support Luigi Mangione, right? Why are all these people coming out for democratic socialism? Why do all these people hate us? Danielle, throughout the history of time, eventually there is a breaking point, Danielle.
Yep.
There is a breaking point. And people keep forgetting that Americans, despite us having the United States of amnesia, despite us, being addicted to racism and greed and white supremacy, despite us having the memories of Nats, like you mentioned, there's something in our DNA where we remember that we revolted against the British Empire. No monarchs, no kings, right? And that we threw tea right? We threw tea. We committed acts of disobedience, illegal acts of disobedience, because we said no taxation without representation. And this is a country, what always worries me, of more guns than people, Danielle.
Yep.
And the question I have for you is, how long will people take it? And I think Tillis, because he's retiring, he can finally say this stuff with his chest out, which is why they're cowards. They know this is disastrous, Danielle. They're not stupid people. They know their own base is going to die and they don't care. Remember during COVID, what did Republicans say? Well, grandma and grandpa got to die to reopen the economy. Hey, sacrifices have to be made. It's eugenics. It's Hunger Games, right? They're willing to let the weakest of us die. The registry that RFK wants for autistic people who he says are useless, right? Elderly people, as Elon Musk says, non-productive people. Who are the non-productive people? You, me, immigrants, poor people, sick people, our elderly, the poors, right? The workers. As who's the folks, the billionaire evil Secretary of Commerce, Lutnick, Donald Trump's Secretary of Commerce said, we're eventually going to replace the workers with AI. Yep. Do you think Americans who have more guns in this country than people, do you think they're just going to sit back and take it, Danielle? And this is where I say, and people think I'm being, oh, Americans don't care, Americans will take it. I disagree, Danielle. I think all it takes is one spark. And I'll take it to something that was positive. I had a friend in the WhatsApp group say, with the George Floyd murder and the video that got released, Americans don't care, they're not going to come out. And I said, you know what? This has been building. All it takes is a spark. And what happened, Danielle? 15 to 20 million people came out and protested in the largest protest in American history. If they take off Medicaid, which will literally kill people in a month, do you think Republican voters with guns will sit there and take it? I ask you.
You know, here's a funny thing, because, you know, the Supreme Court had a bunch of horrific fucking rulings as they closed out their murderous session with Planned Parenthood gutting and allowing Trump to deport people to third-party nations and all of these things, right? And somebody said on Blue Sky, they said, you know what people don't get? They're coming for the guns. And this is because to ensure that there will be no overthrowing of the government, that there will be no fighting back when Donald Trump declares martial law, that they're going to come for the guns. And I thought to myself, oh, I could absolutely see that happening. And I'm like, but how do you round up 400 million guns, right? Like, how do you do, like, I could see them passing legislation to do that in order, and like, I guess rolling tanks down the street. But I'm like, we have 330 million Americans in this country and 400 million guns. So I think that this atrocious, disgusting bill, which is which, as you said, will cut taxes for the rich and slash $930 billion from Medicaid. And I just want to say this. I have traveled, right, over the course of my life to places that could be seen as developing, right, or underdeveloped, purposefully underdeveloped, right, because they couldn't be extracted for capitalistic gain. So they're underdeveloped countries. I see what happens when there are no social safety nets.
Yep.
I have traveled to India. I see what happens when there are no homeless shelters, when there is no health care, when the poor are bathing in fountains in front of the hotel that you're staying in. I see what it looks like when there is no Food and Drug Administration, when there is no CDC, right? And folks think that, like, oh, that could never happen. There are countries around the world that has been their norm.
Yep.
And so when everything is gone and you realize now 1 in 4 nursery homes shutting down, 1 in 4, where are those elderly people going? Right? Where are they going to go? Oh, they're going to have to go back into houses with their families. And then what is going to happen? Women will probably end up, much like they did in COVID, having to drop out of the workforce to care for elderly family members. Right? Everything is going to reverse itself. and this country will be worse off.
Yep.
And I tell you, before 2028, this country, it will be obvious to the naked eye just how bad America has it. And then what will happen? That to me will be the breaking point.
And look, I was talking to David Rothkopf, a mutual friend of ours, a couple of weeks ago. I had the interview out, and he said, he was in a meeting, an all-day meeting with experts, and he reiterated that the damage that the Trump administration has done to us in 6 months is generational
Yep.
damage.
Yep.
That will take generational repair.
Mm-hmm.
And it will take new leaders who understand the threat, who are made for this moment and built for this fight. And the problem is, folks, we just spent the last 25 minutes. Sorry that I was late, everyone. I feel so bad. Thank you, Danielle, for starting. But we just spent the first 25 minutes of the show talking about this bill from hell that we took it down. And it's even worse, folks. But in the interest of time, we gave you the highlights.
Yeah.
How it would literally kill Americans, make things worse. And I don't know, Danielle, if I was, say, an oppositional leader, and I had this bill from hell that, like you said, 60% of Americans, including Republicans, dislike, because Medicaid and Social Security are some of the most popular social programs in America. And if more and more people knew about it, that number is going to go from 60%, Danielle, to probably 70%. And if I was an oppositional leader and, say, I don't know, wanted to take back the House and the Senate in 2026, what would you have spent the weekend highlighting, Danielle? If you just say we're an oppositional leader and your opposition promoted this horrific bill, advanced it with a majority of votes that would kill fellow Americans, as was deeply unpopular, what would you focus on?
Well, I think that the most important thing would be to focus on Zoran Mamdani's win and to smear him with Islamophobic posts and interviews that are not coming from the opposition party, but are coming from the establishment Democratic Party. And this is why I say, fuck that party entirely. Do not waste your time and your energy thinking that the Democrats are actually going to come to serve the people, because they're serving the same oligarchs. Listen to what Hakeem, I mean, you can't listen because I don't have the clip, but Hakeem Jeffries on Mamdani, quote, globalizing the intifada by way of example is not an acceptable phrasing. He's going to have to clarify his position on that as he moves forward. How about you clarify your position on fucking genocide?
That's right.
How about that doesn't have anything to do with the people of New York City?
Or
how about it doesn't?
Or how about this? Folks, I hate to be proven right. I've been telling you for a year and a half, Hakeem Jeffries isn't the dude. I've been saying on democracy-ish. I said he's too beholden to corporate money. He's too beholden to oligarchy. He's too beholden to AIPAC. He's not built for this fight. He's not made for this moment. And he revealed himself. That's a Democratic leader. Can you go back to that quote real quick? Because I think it's very important for us to give people. Zoran Mamdani has never said globalize the intifada.
Nope.
He has never called for the intifada. And you have Democrats who spent the entire weekend bringing down their popular, charismatic candidate for mayor by equating a quote to him that he has never said, to smear him on behalf of AIPAC. Danielle, I rarely get upset. I was so pissed off yesterday. The double standards, the Islamophobia, the fact that this shit's happening in 2025 that I've had to deal with since 24 years. Black people have had to deal with racism their whole life, right? The fact that it's been liberals, and I've been saying that for a while, liberal leaders who've jumped on to Islamophobia and anti-Palestinian bigotry, right? That's the last refuge. And with the big, beautiful bill from hell, you have a talking point. They unleashed all their ammunition, like I warned 2 weeks ago on social media and on this show. What will they do? They'd rather burn the party down than have Mamdani be the leader. Remember I said that?
Yep. But here's the thing that I want to say, though. And you tell me, you can feel free to disagree. I want to thank Democrats for showing us exactly who the fuck they are. I want to thank them for waking me up from my dreams of them being any better than they have ever been. I honestly, I appreciate the fact of how naked everyone is now, right? In their greed, in their depravity, right? In their inhumanity. I want to thank them, because when you see who people are, you don't have to waste your time and energy trying to turn them into something else. For the rest of us, it is now time for us to figure out what kind of party we want, because these two parties are dead. They're dead for different reasons, but dead by the same hands of the greedy, insatiable billionaires who they would rather suck up to and suckle on than do anything for the American people. And so now when people are naked before you, in front of you, as who they are, then you have a decision to make. And that's where the American people are. We have a decision to make, because these establishment Democrats, Schumer, the Clintons, Jeffries, all of them that are standing before you, that are wasting time and energy smearing a likable candidate, smearing the future of this party, they're showing us
Ass
they're
out.
not for us.
Ass out. And the ass has dollar bills that are filled in. Sorry for that image, but I had to. Their asses are out, and those buck cheats have the cash. There's the ATM, and the cash is put in by the monopoly guy with the hat, the billionaires, right? That's all they did. All of them. Hakeem Jeffries, Senator Schumer's, freaking Gillibrand in New York, instead of rallying behind this man, Mamdani, who has brought together the majority, who won thanks to a multicultural base, Bradlander, Jewish American, black voters, right? Young voters, enthusiasm, excitement. They freaking decided to destroy him with this Islamophobic smear that has led to death threats against Mamdani. And here's Politico and corporate media doing the job. Zoran Mamdani declines to condemn the globalized intifada. Why the F should he condemn something that he's never said? Why do Muslims and black people always have to play the condemn-a-thon? Why do I have to, for the past 24 years, condemn violent acts done by violent people I've never met? But Republicans, 3 weeks after Vance Bolter friggin' killed the Democratic officials, are not asked to, do you condemn Vance Bolter? Do you condemn the violent extremism of Vance Bolter and Christian nationalists? Do you condemn the violent insurrectionists that you support? Do you condemn, Donald Trump dining with Nick Fuentes, a Nazi supporter? Do you condemn, Donald Trump quoting Nazis and Hitlers? Do you condemn Elise Stefanik and Republicans promoting the white supremacist replacement theory? Do you condemn Elon Musk doing a double Zig Heil? Oh, no, not a single question is asked. But friggin' Zoran Mamdani is asked, do you support something he's never said? And I'll also say this. For all the unconditional supporters of Israel, like Senator Schumer, like Hakeem Jeffries, like Ted Cruz. Sorry, I'm on a rant right now because I'm heated. How come they have never been asked, do you support the IDF killing more babies in Gaza in the past year and a half than in any other war zone? Do you support the fact that the IDF has created more child amputees in Gaza than any part of the world? Do you support the genocidal language and intent that is clearly displayed by the leaders of Israel? Do you support the report that came out 3 days ago where the IDF soldiers said that they were ordered to shoot at Daniel? They were ordered to shoot at innocent Palestinians who had lined up to get humanitarian aid, and they killed at least 600 Palestinians. Why do you support that? How come none of them have ever been asked that, Danielle? Am I off base here?
No, you're not. Because why are they never asked? Because white people are never asked to defend themselves ever, right? Because they can be seen as individuals, because the response will be, I haven't seen that report, Waj. And the response will be, I'll get back to you on that. Or the response will be, Israel has a right to defend itself. Folks, tell them about this. Tell them about this show, Waj, and what happened in your.
Oh, okay. So real quick, anyone who apparently criticizes Israel, of course, is deemed as an anti-Semite and must be crushed. Mahmoud Khalil, who has committed 0 crimes, must be detained for 104 days. Rumeza Ostrich, who co-wrote an op-ed advocating for boycotts, was detained in a Louisiana detention center, kidnapped in broad daylight. And Kneecap, which is a pretty awesome Irish hip-hop band. I don't know if you've heard them, Danielle. Because they're Irish and because they know about occupation and because they know about, struggle and oppression against the British Empire, they have been very vocal, much like Macklemore and so many other artists in the past year and a half, actually longer, radicalized by what they've seen in Gaza, which is a genocide. And they've come out and openly said free Palestine, to the point where the BBC decided to censor them and not air their live concert at Glastonbury. So then karma, they instead air a guy who I've never heard of, a band called Bob Vylan. And Bob Vylan comes out and says, free Palestine. This was live, right? And then he said, death to the IDF, right? Death to the IDF. This story has had more coverage on BBC in the past 3 days than any other story in the world right now. According to the BBC News homepage, this is the most important story in the world. It's been 35 hours since Bob Dylan's performance, and Keir Starmer came out and condemned it. You had Prime Minister of Canada condemned it, Ted Cruz, Democrats, everyone condemned it. But you know what they didn't condemn, Danielle?
The
The
killing
story
field.
that came out in Haaretz 3 days ago. There you go. Thank you so much. That literally, quote, IDF officers and soldiers told Haaretz they were ordered to fire unarmed crowds near food distribution sites in Gaza, even when no threat was present. It's a killing field, not a fraction. You know what they haven't aired? The genocidal comments by Israeli leaders, not just some random dude, some band at some concert festival. Smotrich, the finance minister, Ben Gvir, the security minister, the president, Herzog, friggin' Israeli commentators, broadcasters, Netanyahu, who have openly said that their plan is to cleanse Gaza, right, and occupy Gaza, literally engage in a genocide. No one is asked, do you condemn that language? Do you condemn that genocide? All the unconditional supporters of Israel are never asked that. But Zoran Mamdani is asked to condemn globalized intifada, even though he hasn't said that. And you and me are going to be asked, if we ever get invited, do you condemn Bob Dylan's statement? I was on Piers Morgan. He actually didn't ask me that. Surprise, surprise. I thought he was going to be asking me that to condemn that. But I would say I'm not really interested in condemning words that I don't use. I'm more outraged by the fact that there's actual bullets killing people, right?
Yep.
And I'm more outraged by the fact that the supporters of Israel are policing the language, but not policing the IDF that's engaging in war crimes. And why is it that there's a double standard where some random dude I've never heard of in my life says death to IDF, which I wouldn't use, and that has 3 times more coverage than the IDF committing genocide? And folks, I'll tell you this, Israel has lost. They've lost the culture war because kids, guess what? They made Bob Dylan and Kneecap go number 1. They've lost the culture war. They've lost Miss Rachel. When you lose Miss Rachel, you've lost. They've lost the moral high ground and they've lost the narrative. And around the world, all the data shows that within my lifetime and in a year and a half, I can't believe it happened so quickly, Danielle. An entire young population has been radicalized against Israel. They've lost. Sorry for my rant.
And so here's the thing, as we close out today.
Well, what's your take on it?
You know, my take on it is this. I'm not, if I go on TV again, which I have turned down TV now multiple times over the last several weeks, because I'm not interested in bullshit. And I really I no longer have the temperament to be asked questions that are fucking stupid. Like, do you condemn? I don't give a fuck what he's chanting. To your point, I give a fuck what the IDF is actually doing. I don't care about people's slogans. I don't care about like what crowds are chanting. I care about 400,000 people having been murdered in 2.5 years. That's what I care about. Absolutely. I care about the fact that you're denying baby formula to enter into the country. I care about that. I care about the fact that you're shooting people that are begging desperately for food and health care. I condemn that. So I don't give a fuck about anyone's globalization, intifada, fucking language that they want to use. Fuck all of them. And because here's the thing, in a very short amount of time, they have radicalized, to use your language, radicalized young people, but opened up the eyes of too many people who had believed, right, that there was this connection between Zionism and Judaism, and believed that Israel had the right to do whatever, whenever, and however in order to secure its safety. And I'm telling you that if the only way you can be safe is by decimating or suffocating or eliminating and eradicating another people, you will never be fucking safe. That's not what safety looks like. So, you know, here's
Danielle, can I, if I may, because I brought some receipts for Piers. These are actual quotes, not by some Israeli hip hop stars at a festival. Let me just read a few quotes. I know you have to leave and I have to leave. This is the finance minister, Smotrich. Quote, "We are conquering, cleansing, and remaining in Gaza until Hamas is destroyed." The prime minister heard that, Netanyahu, and said, Smotrich is speaking the truth. Smotrich, "We're finally going to occupy the Gaza Strip. We will stop being afraid of the word occupation." Quote, "There are no innocent civilians in Gaza." That's the president of Israel. Quote, there's one common goal after October 7th, erasing the Gaza Strip from the face of the earth. That's Israeli Parliament Deputy Speaker. Quote, every trace of the murderous mutations in Gaza must be erased, from the delivery rooms to the last elderly person in Gaza. That's a lawyer and television host who tweeted that in February. And finally, speaking about rappers, you know what went to #1 in Israel? A song that called for the killing of Dua Lipa and model Bella Hadid. Why? Because they said free Palestine. So as Danielle says, miss me with the bullshit. And young people around the world, folks, they're radicalized. You might not agree with their chants. They don't care. They're against genocide. They're against occupation. They're against the oligarchy. They're against oppression, whether it's in Palestine, whether it's in America, whether it's in China against the Uyghurs, whether it's in Sudan, whether it's in Myanmar, whether it's in Ukraine. Globalize the Intifada, a language that I don't use, but what it means is you shrug off occupation no matter where it is, which is why NECAP, that are not Muslim, not Palestinian, not Arab, said, we're Irish. We recognize this occupation and struggle, and we're going to sing for you, Palestinians. Why South Africans have come out and said, we know a thing or two about apartheid, which is why we're going to make the case to the International Court of Justice that Israel is committing genocide. And you know what their evidence was? They simply quoted Israeli leaders and their language. So speaking about words, let's talk about those words. And I want Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, the unconditional supporters of Israel, to be asked if they condemn those words and those actions by Israel. Sorry for my rant. I'm done.
I will tell you this. Establishment Democrats are on their way out. And I just want to close with this today. When Mandani's win is a political earthquake that should have the Democratic establishment nationally running scared. It comes as 62% of Dems are fed up with their party leaders and want them replaced. Also, a lot more Democrats are liberal, 55%, than once were 25% in 1994. What we have to understand in this moment, friends, is that time is up. And things in this country, I will continue to say, will get bloodier before they get better, but time is up. The actions of Republicans and the actions of Democrats show you that they are running scared, show you that they are trying to fire hose the gaslight, show you that they are trying to use fear and all of these things. And you know what? The people are looking around and saying, you know what? This shit seems familiar. This feels like this has happened before. This feels like you've used this rope-a-dope before. And you know what? I'm not going to fall for it this time. You know what? It's not the immigrants you're kidnapping from the street. You know what? It isn't the Haitians. It isn't the gay people. It isn't the trans people. It's the fucking oligarchs. It's the greed. It's the racism. And that is what is stopping this country from being great. And so until it decides to live up to its ideals, it is going to be the people that need to rise up to hold this country's feet to the fucking fire or burn the shit down. That is what I say today as we close out Democracy-ish, because I couldn't have named the show better. I could not have named it better, because every week that we come on here, we have lost more and more rights. In the last 5 months, folks, we have lost more rights than in the last 5 decades. And people need to wake the fuck up and understand that, right? That it isn't going to be one march in one day. It is going to be a national strike. It is going to be consistency. Everyone is going to need to lose something in order for us all to gain something back, which is justice and equity for all people, not just a select few, not just the carve-outs for the Murkowskis, not just for the Gillibrands, not just for the Jeffries, right? For all of us. So we have to decide. America has to decide who it wants to be. But these people that are in charge, their fucking time is up.
TikTok, mother effers. You ain't made for this moment. You're not built for this fight. And if you're not willing to fight, you're going to get shipped out. And then the leaders will rise, inshallah. And we are those leaders. You can't outsource this problem, because fascism comes for everyone. We want to thank you all. Thank you for being patient with me. I was supposed to be here at 12, but they came me till 12:15. I had to listen to the most genocidal, insane member of Israel's, the Minister of Social Equality. Can't make this shit up. The Minister of Social Equality was advocating for genocide, folks. This is where we are. But I was able to make it. Danielle was able to hold forth. Thank you all for watching us, 1,700 people. We'll be back Wednesday for our midweek Substack at 3 p.m. We'll be back Friday. For all the people who are the super chatters who gave us money, $4, just saying, $2. Thank you so much. $5, Jimmy, $20. Folks, this is independent media. I want to tell you all that we do not take a single dime. This is all grassroots. Danielle and I are not stupid, but we're fools. We're terrible capitalists. We have kept everything for free on purpose, right? Because we want the entire population to be informed, because you need an informed population to take on fascists. We once read Democracy Dies in Darkness, or In a $50 Million Wedding in Venice. I digress. But we have kept everything for free. So the least you can do, I hope, if you like our content, is actually go and subscribe. Click the bell if you're watching on YouTube. Danielle is already at 25,000 subscribers. She started from nothing just a couple of months ago. We're trying to get her to 30,000. I'm at YouTube at Wajahat. I have like 11,000 now. That'd be nice. We also have all of our content, including interviews and written content, at our Substack. Danielle's at Damn Digest, DAM Digest, also free. Please subscribe. I'm at the Left Hook Substack. It's been a year. Everything's for free. You pay what you can. If you have a few dollars, we're like Blanche Dubois. We depend on the kindness of strangers. But this is the community that we're building. Every week, more and more people are coming to Democracy-ish. This is independent media. We don't bend the knee to any billionaire, oligarch, or politician. We call everyone out, and we praise people when they deserve to be praised as well. I hope you all appreciate us. We appreciate you. Thank you all for all the money that you've given us, the small tips. I know it goes a long way. Thank you for the views. Thank you for giving us your time. You could be doing so much more. And when this is published in about a minute, please share, because this is how the elves in the YouTube algorithm work. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you for listening to Democracy-ish. We will see you back Wednesday on Substack. Be well. And as Wash says, don't be a fascist.